It was great fun for the audience. It was great fun for most of the cast, I think. For me, it was not so much fun because I was still early in my film career, and I wanted to be a good actor. And, I was taking it all a lot more seriously than everybody else was. I mean, nobody ever said a word that was on the page. And when you're working with Dean Martin, it doesn't matter because he's so funny and so delightful. You just sort of had to stand there and wait and think, okay, is he finished? Is that my cue to start speaking? And I love Dom. Dom was, just wonderful to work with. But I wasn't as, if you look at the outtakes at the end, where Burt is slapping Dom or whatever, and you look at my face, you'll see that I didn't think it was quite so funny. But you know what? What I thought didn't matter. I just did a documentary for Lamborghini with the original car. The fellow that bought it had just spent $450,000 restoring it, and Lamborghini was using it for an in-house documentary. And Tara Buckman, the other actress where we were driving that car together, Tara and I flew down to Florida and, talked about the car. And people, it's still, I can't tell you how many people come up to me. They've got the Lamborghini. They want me to sign the Lamborghini. And it's a huge hit still.
Things that are worth your attention.
I'm just so grateful that you joined us.
It is a pleasure.
Welcome to Media Path. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I'm Louise Palanker.
If you've been a fan of films for a while, you've probably been frightened by, seduced by, laughed with, and in many ways been very entertained by our guest today, Adrienne Barbeau. She's an actor and a singer and an author. At one point, she was considered the queen of scary and sci-fi movies. She was part of one of Norman Lear's groundbreaking shows, Maude. She's done Broadway and animation voiceover, TV talk show host, radio host, even does voiceover characters for video games. We have tons to talk about when we introduce Adrienne in just a few minutes. Weezy, what do you have?
Well, I've been watching some movies, Fritzy, because we're getting ready for the season where you want to see as many of these nominated types of films as possible. But Song Sung Blue. Have you seen that one yet?
Yes, I have.
Song Sung Blue, much like the music of Mr. Neil Diamond, is heart-wrenchingly feel-good. Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson play performers Mike and Claire Sardina, a real-life Milwaukee couple who form a Neil Diamond tribute band which takes Wisconsin by storm in the late 90s into the early aughts. The film delves into a layer of show business where your manager may also be your dentist. Not everyone gets to see big-time, big-budget concerts, but tribute acts fill rooms and invite smiles the world over. Calling themselves Thunder and Lightning, Mike and Claire overcome obstacles and catastrophes, uniting in love and song to embody the magic of Neil Diamond. This film is based on a 2008 doc by Greg Coase. He was a huge Thunder and Lightning fan, and reading about his efforts to celebrate his favorite group in documentary form reminded me of my own journey in making family band The Cowsill Story. Just want to share what you believe in. Greg's doc led to this beautiful noise of a scripted film. Bonus, Neil Diamond was deeply moved and delighted with the movie Song Sung Blue. He laughed, he cried, he applauded. Then he called Hugh Jackman to say, "You did good, kid," and invited him over for karaoke night at his home. Who handles the invite list for Neil Diamond's karaoke night? I need to send her a cookie basket. Song Sung Blue is streaming in a bunch of places, including Prime and Apple. You still have to pay, but it's worth it.
I loved it. I thought, he's the consummate performer, Hugh Jackman, and she is so cute. She doesn't even have to say anything, and she's won me over.
She's just spectacular.
Just love her.
It's a great film. You might think, I don't understand. What is this? Are they lookalikes? Watch the movie.
No, and it's a true story.
Yes, it's a true story.
With a couple of changes. Well, I want to keep going with the Oscar fever and talk about Marty Supreme. This is still in theaters. It stars Timothée Chalamet and Gwyneth Paltrow. It's loosely based on the life of Marty Reisman. In the 1940s and 50s, he was a legendary New York City table tennis hustler. And I say loosely based because it's definitely not a biopic. They manufacture most of the specific events along with the plot lines and the dialogue. Director Josh Safdie was inspired by Reisman's 1974 autobiography called The Money Player. It was focused on the New York City table tennis subculture, the hustlers, the gamblers, the dreamers. The whole point of the film, really, is a character study showing Marty's amazing street hustle, his self-belief, and dominance in the sport of ping pong. For most of the film, you watch this guy bullshitting his way through life, but his charisma, his confidence, his self-assurance just tend to draw you in. Also, what draws Gwyneth Paltrow's character to him as well. Even though she's married to an extremely wealthy man, she's caught in the magnetism of Marty. It's a return to acting after a long hiatus for Gwyneth, and she really does a nice turn. And Chalamet is the reason to watch the film at all. He's spectacular as this staccato-talking New York hustler who is so self-assured that you're sure life will deny him nothing. His banter is as fast and interesting as the ping pong play. There are cameos by Fran Drescher, who plays Marty's mother, and Sandra Bernhardt, also Tyler, the Creator. My guess is, good shot at Best Actor, Marty Supreme, still in theaters.
Oh, wow. Haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to it. I watched the 60 Minutes piece on Timmy, you know. If you're his friend, you get to call him. Wow. But he's like any other theater kid, but just like a few notches beyond in terms of like...
Yeah, he's phenomenal in this movie. So fast, and he's what the character was, this self-assured, cocky guy. Yeah. And nobody ever says no to him.
Yeah, he's just very, very driven, and he knows he can do it.
All right. Adrienne Barbeau has had an amazing career. She starred in the original cast of Grease on Broadway as Rizzo. She knocked the wind out of us in many scary movies like The Fog, done by her husband at the time, John Carpenter, Escape from New York, also Carpenter's film, Creep Show, Swamp Thing. She did Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds, and General Hospital. Born in Sacramento, I love this fact about you, lovely lady. At 19, you did a USO tour. At 19 years old with the San Jose Civic Light Opera, touring for soldiers around the world. Welcome, Adrienne. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Actually, I had just graduated high school, and we left the week after my graduation. I was 18.
Wow. Had you been performing with the Civic Light Opera before you were cast to go on the USO tour? I
auditioned for them when I was 15, and my first production with them was The King and I. I played Tup Tim. And the San Jose City Light Opera was even in 1963, when we did the tour, was a multi-million-dollar organization. So they really, It wasn't just a little community theater. And they put together a musical comedy review, and we applied to the State Department, and we got chosen. We were what they called in those days in the Orient. We were right on the DMZ in Korea.
Wow.
We were Korea, Japan, Okinawa, Taiwan, an atomic testing center called Johnston Island. And it was an incredible experience. My first paying job.
I would say that, I'm not being rude here, but you were probably a huge attraction to the soldiers at that particular time.
When we landed on Johnston Island, there were no women allowed on the island to stay overnight. So, the fellas were happy to see us.
You kept journals in which you spill your heart out, but offer a few details about your career accomplishments. And after my mom passed away, I found just such a journal. She was writing her whole life, but in the journal, in that age, it's your best friend in terms of your romantic yearnings, and you just spill them.
And throughout my life, I mean, when time came to write the memoir, and my editor was saying, we need to know more about Maude, and we need to know about this and that. I didn't have any of that stuff written down. That's what I did for a living. I was using the journal to work out my emotional life. And
but in a lot of ways throughout the book, when you talk about, or I guess maybe you wrote a paper about what would be required, what would be the sacrifices in devoting your life to becoming an actor, those pieces within your book really play so well, because It's just the imaginings and the dreaming of a little girl. And then we know, because we're reading the book, that you made it all happen.
I've been very fortunate. I really have. And you know what it's like in our business. Who knows when you're starting out what's going to happen? I said to myself before I went to New York, I'll go, I'll try. If nothing's happened by the time I'm 25, I'll go back to college and I'll get a degree and I'll teach. But by the time I was 25, I was in the union and working, and I may have been doing Fiddler by that time.
You have had such an amazing career. So tell me where your life went between being a performer with the San Jose Civic Light Opera in a war zone to being a go-go dancer in New York.
Well, I moved to New York when I was 19. I didn't know a soul. And, if you're trying to be an actor in New York, you have to have your days free because you have to go to voice lessons and acting classes and make the rounds. And if you're lucky, an open, non-equity call. And so I had to take a job at night. And I answered an ad, I think it was in Backstage Magazine, for a place called Maddie's Mardi Gras on West 49th Street that I eventually discovered, not until many years later, actually, was run. I mean, I had a feeling it was run by the syndicate, but it wasn't until many years later that I discovered that my boss was actually the head of one of the 5 families.
Wow.
But they were looking for, I think, a cocktail waitress, or I ended up as a barmaid. And then Maddie had these motorized mannequins on a stage that looked like musicians, and he played music on the jukebox, and these mannequins sort of, plunked down on the drums and the piano and looked like it was a live band. But when people came in and found out it wasn't a live band, they started getting annoyed. So Maddie had the idea of the girls getting up on the stage and dancing to the jukebox music. I was told later on by one of the girls who did work there that we may have been the first discotheque dancers in existence. I don't know.
It's good exercise. Nobody should judge it.
I was working at night and getting up and going, making the rounds during the day, and it has served me in good stead.
And how long was it before you got cast in the chorus of Fiddler?
Oh, she's not in the chorus. She plays Hodel.
Well, she started in the chorus.
I originally auditioned. It was for the understudy of Hodel and a chorus member, and that would have been in 68. I moved to New York in 65. I got my first summer stock job, which was 5 months in Augusta, Michigan, and that got me my union card. That would have been maybe summer of 65 or 66, I don't know. And then I did several other tours. I did This Was Burlesque with Ann Corio out at Paramus Playhouse in New Jersey. And then one day I got a call from Shirley Rich, who was Hal Prince's casting director. I had sent her my photo and resume, and she asked me to come in and audition for the understudy and the chorus. It was a grueling audition. It was 5 hours long.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of it, they cast me. And almost maybe within 6 months, the actress that was playing Hodel left the show. She may have even known she was going to be leaving when they hired me. And I went in and I did Fiddler for 2.5 years.
Wow. And Hodel was the daughter of Tevye, just to set the stage. And at the same time, Bette Midler played your sister and Tevye's other daughter, Tzeitel.
Yes.
How was that experience? Did you have a sense that this was going to be an explosion of talent with her?
Oh, of course. Yes. She was in the show. She was already doing the show when I was cast. And so for my first 2 weeks of rehearsal, I sat in the balcony and watched the show, every performance. Every performance, she brought me to tears in the scene where she's begging Papa to let her marry Mottel the tailor and not make her marry Laser Wolf. She was brilliant. And then she started coming in with a song list. And this is my list. I can't remember what she called it, but she was putting an act together. And then she started performing at the Baths, and suddenly it was the Divine Miss M.
Who played Tevye at the time you started?
When I went in, it was Harry Gause.
Mm-hmm.
Maria Karnilova, who was the original, was still playing Golda, Mama. B. Arthur had left. It was Florence Stanley. And over a period of time that I did it, John Savage came in and he played Fiedka. And we ended up many, many years later doing Carnivàle for HBO together. Oh. And who else did we have in that cast that went on? Those were the ones that you would know most, whose names you would recognize most quickly.
But you were looking for a role that you could premiere, because then you would appear in the reviews and everything. And when you premiered the role of Rizzo, there was a song that you brought to life that almost got cut. Can you tell us that story?
Yes, we were in previews, and the song that Rizzo sings in the second act, There Are Worse Things I Could Do, wasn't working. It wasn't working. And so the guys, the fellas, the two writers and the director, we're going to have to cut it. And if I remember correctly, it was the woman who was with the publishing company that was publishing the music, who saw the show and said to our director, well, it's not the song, it's the scene before it, because you don't have any empathy for Rizzo and what she's going through. She thinks she's pregnant and all of that. There's nothing empathetic about her or about the situation, so nobody cares why she's singing this. The fellas rewrote the scene in one night, and we did it the next night, and it proceeded to get
That's so interesting.
Standing ovations after that.
And did you try it out of town, or did you were you just?
No. We rehearsed, and as you know, if you read the book, we opened, and that was it. We thought we were going to close that week. They were going to put the closing notices up. Our reviews were bad. The New York Times didn't get it. The Daily News didn't get it, or the Post didn't get it. It was. I remember one of the actors walking backstage in tears, saying, "I can't have another flop." But we had started with previews at the theater in New York, and the audience was building. It was word of mouth, and the producers, thinking that maybe this would take off, went out in spite of the bad reviews and raised more money and kept us going until suddenly we were, well, Wow. I mean,
and it tapped into that American zeitgeist of nostalgia for the 50s and just exploded, which gave birth to Happy Days and everything else. Mm-hmm. It was just people were ready to look back at an easier time.
Tell us about the superhuman strength that embodied you on, I think it was a preview night where you suddenly had the strength of a mother lifting a car off of her child.
No, it was the scene where the girls are all around the cafeteria table doing Summer Nights, I think, dancing on top of the cafeteria table and everything. And the scene change happened, and somehow the table never ended up on stage. I don't remember this. It was only the director and the producer who told me later, when I was writing my memoir, that I hadn't made my entrance yet. I just picked up this 6-foot long cafeteria table and carried it out there and set it down,
may
and
want
we all
this.
started singing and dancing. I have no recollection of it, but that's my
You
my
left your
strength
body,
story.
and your body did that for you. I think
My
that's
body
right.
did it.
Yeah.
It needed to be out there, and I was the only one left backstage.
But is it true that you still have not watched the film version of Grease?
I've never seen it. No,
Have your
and
kids seen it?
I never will.
Yeah. But I mean, you can tell us why if you so choose, but
You know why? I was in a boutique one day, and I heard this song playing over. In those days, it was Muzak. We used to call it Muzak. And I thought, what is that? What is? Oh, that's the song. That's the song I sang.
yeah.
And I realized that, I mean, Stoddard did a lovely job with it, but it was such a different approach. It was sort of like a jazz waltz or something. That I thought, oh, if that's the way the movie is, I just want to have good memories of what we did. And what we did is not even what is done anymore on stage.
Oh.
The original Grease was pretty raunchy, pretty, I don't want to say hardcore, but it was a lot more hardcore than the productions that are done now. The language, the direction, everything was, and I've only seen it once. I saw the National Company when it came to LA. And I thought, you know what, these are the memories I want to keep. I want to remember what it was like when we did it.
So the traveling companies were more to the script that you did. It was the movie that was different.
Oh, yes, very much so. Very much so. And then the succeeding stage productions of Grease, the ones that are done now. I mean, even when we did it, we wrote a book about it in a couple of years ago for the 50th anniversary. And one of the actors told a story about, I don't remember what theater it was. It was someplace in the South. And they came to him, and they came to the actors and said, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this. This is a family show. You can't do any of this, know. So I think the productions that are being done now, or that have been done since maybe the late 70s, are just a little more upbeat and sweet and bubblegum,
Less controversial, more bring the whole family. And
Yes.
the music is
Yeah.
so catchy. I mean, I was teaching camp the summer the movie came out. I was teaching 3 and 4-year-olds. They knew all the songs. So it's
yes.
hard to keep kids away from something that they're just gravitating towards and having to tell them, this isn't for kids, when it really sounds like it is. So I sort of understand the evolution, but I also understand your reaction to it.
Yep.
You've done 25 musicals and plays, including Stag movie.
Yes.
I have to talk about this,
Okay.
where nakedness abounded. Describe that experience. What was the audition like?
Chili.
They made an offer.
Oh, that's what it was.
I had left Fiddler, and then I did a summer stock tour of Fiddler. But I had never originated a role in New York. So I had never been reviewed. I'd never been seen by agents. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have an agent until after I did Grease. And so this thing came along, and I thought, well, it was in the day of
Hair.
hair.
There
and let
were people were walking around
come.
naked for no apparent reason.
Oh, Calcutta.
Right. And the one that Bill Macy did, Oh Calcutta, Let My People Come. It was in the day of, I don't know if you've been to New York this month, but we have 2 shows on Broadway now where in one show, I think both actors are nude throughout almost all of it.
Well, I
And
do
in the
remember
other
my
one,
sister coming back from New York at age 12 and saying, "Well, I've seen a penis."
All right.
Well,
so
anyway, I think they just made me an offer, and I was going to be singing and dancing 13 numbers, starring in this thing off Broadway. And I thought, well, you know what? This is what you need to do if you want to have a career. And so we did it, and it was a big success. Unfortunately, the off Broadway union strike hit us, and we never recovered. It closed after about 5 months, I think.
So Norman Lear reads about you in the review for Grease.
Yes. Well, I think he sent his casting director. Or they must have read about the review or the Tony nomination or something, and the casting director came to see it, and then they called me in to interview with Norman. The role of Carol on Maude had already been established by Marcia Rod, who unfortunately we just lost recently. Marcia was a fantastic actress. But when they did the pilot for Maude, they used Marcia as her Maude's daughter. And I think either Marcia didn't want to relocate, or maybe they thought Marcia and their sense of their comedy delivery was maybe too similar, but for whatever reason, they were recasting. And so Norman called me in, and we met in his offices in New York. And the role had already been established as having a 7-year-old boy. And I finished the meeting, and I went back to doing Grease, and my agents called and said, well, Norman thinks you look too young to have a 7-year-old boy. Okay, fine. I got a job. We'll see what's going on. And about a month later, I got the call that they wanted me to fly to LA and audition again because they hadn't been able to find what they were looking for. And so I did. I flew to LA. I auditioned very badly. I was very nervous. I had never done television. I'd never watched television or movies because I'd been on stage since I was 15. But they hired me, And
you had lovely things to say about Bea, and that
yes,
a lovely, professional, warm person.
Yes, she was, and I didn't appreciate it fully until the show was over, or until I started going off on hiatuses to do other shows, that I realized that not everyone was as gracious as she was as talented as she was, certainly, but was as concerned about the quality of the show way over and above her own self. And she was the first one, if we were doing a table read, to say, I think this joke would work better if Adie said it, or if Conrad said it, or she was the first one when an under 5 player came in to come to the table. She'd jump up and go to the door and bring them over and introduce herself. And you couldn't have asked for anyone more wonderful to work with.
How did you work on your mother-daughter relationship? Because coming from All in the Family, the relationships were very established of what each of those 4 people were going to be within that household. And now you had a spin-off, and Maude was such a strong character. So how did you know who you were supposed to be with her?
It took me a couple of weeks to understand that I had been hired because they saw something in me that was what they wanted for Carol. When I first, the first couple of rehearsals, I'm going to act, I've just been on stage, and I'm big, and I've got a different accent, and I walk differently for Carol and for Rizzo, And it took me a couple of weeks, and Norman just kept saying, Adrienne, just trust yourself. This is you. You can do this. But mostly, they wrote... I just said what they wrote. And I don't remember ever, the two of us, certainly, I don't remember ever talking about, this is what our relationship was like. Maybe, I had a strong mother. She certainly wasn't as funny as Bea, but I was sort of, I guess I was used to standing up to her. But I just loved her. And so the words
It was on the page. You didn't.
It was on the page.
Yeah.
It was on the page.
And how was it working under the tutelage of the legendary Norman Lear? I mean, the man changed the face of television and had, 5 or 6 shows in the top 10 at any given moment.
Yes. I remember the day we were sitting around we were in the writer's room or the rehearsal hall, sitting around the table, reading the following week's script, and all of a sudden, and Norman was at the end of the table, and all of a sudden, I remember so clearly looking at him and saying, I've never met a genius before. He's a genius. I'm meeting a genius. I'm in the presence of a genius. Mm-hmm. And it was so clear in my mind because I had never met a genius before, and he was. Now, I can't tell you that he was, from the first words on the page, the greatest writer that we had, but he knew how to fix everything. Mm-hmm. He knew what it needed. He knew how, he just knew. Yeah.
We need for you to describe your relationship with Burt Reynolds. I don't think I've ever read anything like this. I mean, we know Burt Reynolds. We don't know him personally. I think Fritz knows him personally. But that relationship, just to the best of your ability, if you can bullet point this for us.
I had different relationships with Burt because it started out as a 3-month love affair that had been predicted to me by a psychic who worked on a Maude script. And she told me that I was going to meet someone. She saw him on a bearskin rug. What she didn't understand was that I had never met him, but I knew him, and she didn't know how that worked. And I showed up at a telethon in Nashville, and there was this guy that I'd seen on Johnny Carson, and I had just seen him posing in Cosmopolitan magazine, I think it was, on a bearskin rug, who was hosting the telethon, and that was Burt. So when he asked me out, I thought, well, I'm supposed to be going out with this guy. And we had a 3-month relationship. And then one night I came out to my car. I think he was supposed to show up at my house or something. I can't remember. We were supposed to meet. And I went out to my car, and there was this 18-page letter, which I still have, with my journals, telling me, he loved me more than anything in the world, but he was still in a business relationship with Dinah Shore, and he could not continue to see me, and I should never try and reach him again. I later found out, I think this might have been his modus operandi for a couple of other actresses. But we remained...
So it was a Xerox letter.
Yeah.
Well, no. Handwritten on...
Okay.
5x7, those little yellow notepads with the blue lines.
Wow.
18 pages. No, I see what you mean. A Xerox letter. He may have borrowed some of his sentences. I don't know. But we remained friends.
Yours didn't say Dear Lonnie or anything, did it?
No. No, he didn't meet Lonnie until much later when I was doing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for him. He was directing it down in at his theater in Jupiter. But I think prior to that, I did Cannonball Run with him. I'm not sure which came first, but
we
remained
he always
friends.
wanted you in his life and wanted you to direct things and he wanted you near.
We were friends.
Yeah.
We were friends.
But
yeah.
You do have to talk about Cannonball Run because that is just craziness. That's a whole lot of crazy.
It was great fun for the audience. It was great fun for most of the cast, I think. For me, it was not so much fun because I was still early in my film career, and I wanted to be a good actor. And, I I was taking it all a lot more seriously than everybody else was. I mean, nobody ever said a word that was on the page, and when you're working with Dean Martin, it doesn't matter because he's so funny and so delightful. You just sort of had to stand there and wait and think, okay, has he finished? Is that my cue to start speaking? And I love Dom. Dom was, just wonderful to work with, but I wasn't as. If you look at the outtakes at the end, where Burt is slapping Dom or whatever, and you look at my face, you'll see that I didn't think it was quite so funny. But you know what? What I thought didn't matter. We did have a couple of real tragedies on the set. There was an accident involving two of the cars. And one of our stunt women was paralyzed from the neck down. And so, that sort of led to my feelings about the movie. But people I just did a documentary for Lamborghini with the original car. The fellow that bought it had just spent $450,000 restoring it, and Lamborghini was using it for an in-house documentary. And Tara Buckman, the other actress where we were driving that car together, Tara and I flew down to Florida and, talked about the car. And people, it's still, I can't tell you how many people come up to me. They've got the Lamborghini. They want me to sign the Lamborghini. And it's a huge hit still.
Thanks for coming along down the media path, and however you have found your way to us, we would love for you to like and subscribe and give us a nice review because as creators, it is our appointed duty to ask you to do that. You may also want to find us on Instagram and Blue Sky where we are at Media Path Pod, and on Facebook where our show page is Media Path Podcast and our Facebook group is Media Path with Fritz and Wheezy Podcast Community. If you are listening to our show, we are also a video podcast on YouTube at Media Path Podcast. You can write to us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. My TikTok is Louise Palenker, where I post behind-the-scenes peeks and clips from the show. And Fritz's TikTok is Fritz Coleman Comedy. He posts stand-up clips and popular dance crazes. Our website is mediapathpodcast.com. There you can binge episodes and our spicy newsletter. Thank you so much. On with the rest of the show.
So your first husband was John Carpenter, who cast you in The Fog. So I have two questions. First of all, how is it working under your, working under your husband? And, and that was the launch of you being considered one of the great sort of scare queens of motion pictures, right?
Actually, yes. But I met John. John cast me in a television film with Lauren Hutton and David Burney called Someone's Watching Me. And so we met first as director, actress, and that's what gave rise to our romance. And then when he wrote The Fog, he wrote Stevie Wayne for me and then asked me to do it. And I had never even seen a horror film. I've never seen Psycho or any of them. And, he handed me this screenplay and I thought, but it's not socially significant. I've been doing Maude for all those years. And it was the day of coming home and China Syndrome. And we were out marching for equal rights amendment. And here was this ghost story, but thank God I did it.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, I'm fascinated by the brains of people like John Carpenter and Stephen King.
Yes.
I mean, where does this come from? I mean, was he as dark and interesting and odd as you would think someone creating that kind of a film was?
No, has an incredible sense of humor. Could make me laugh like nobody could. No, I wouldn't say that. And I've met Stephen because Stephen wrote the screenplay for Creepshow. Mm-hmm. George Romero is another one. George is, the master of horror. George was like a big teddy bear jazz musician or something. I think the story I remember John telling was he was 8 years old and his mom took him to see, was it It Came From Outer Space? Some scary movie. And like halfway through the movie, he said he got so upset and so scared or whatever that he started racing up the aisle to run away. And he got to the top of the aisle and he stopped and he turned around and he thought, wait a minute, this is really fun. I'm really paraphrasing. If you ever talk to John, he'll tell you the story isn't quite like that. But that was sort of the beginning of his being enamored with horror, I guess.
I think there's something about being scared when you know you're actually safe that works through some sort of human process that's required.
There are millions of genre fans. You know all of these horror conventions that I attend and everyone attends. I mean, millions of people who love being
You still
scared.
go to those, the signing things?
I do.
That's great.
I do 3 or 4 a year, 4 or 5. Once since Batman, the animated series, has become so very popular again. Sometimes I'll do a comic convention. And they're so gratifying because I love meeting people and I love hearing their stories, but I can't tell you how many stories, even about Maude. I remember a young man coming up to me, I think I was in Massachusetts, saying to me, Maude taught me that people in a family could love could yell at each other and scream at each other and still love each other. Mm-hmm. We didn't have that in my house. We just had the yelling and the screaming. But I learned from watching that there was another possibility. And we hear stories like all the time. I mean, whether it's young girls who Catwoman was, their life and it taught them how to be strong and independent, or I'm trying to think of some of the horror films that have had an effect. And the thing that amazes me is I have sometimes there's like 5-year-old children who come up with their parents and, oh, mommy, I saw her in this, families, it brings them together.
Well, Maude was important as groundbreaking television, and The Fog was important as launching you in your screen genre. But none of them have had the cultural significance of Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. That's the great title of all time. That wins the great title of all time.
Well, it's based on Heart of Darkness, which Apocalypse Now is based on. So This is our version of Apocalypse Now, or Heart of Darkness via Apocalypse Now.
Wow.
That movie was made, I think we made that movie in maybe 12 days. It was during the Writers Guild strike. Nobody was working. And this company got dispensation. If I remember correctly, the director had written, and I think he had written the screenplay for Pretty Woman. I could be wrong, but he had some really incredible credits, but he was working, under a different name. I shot 17 pages in one day, and half of those, the sword fights, there was nobody on the other side of the camera fighting me with the sword. I was just making the sword go. And
Bill Maher is in this movie, right?
It's fun. And Bill Maher and Kiss.
Gene Simmons?
Shannon Tweed.
Gene Simmons' wife.
Right.
Beautiful Playboy bunny.
Shannon Tweed.
Starring in it.
Well, you've really diversified.
I'm getting old, you guys.
You've really diversified. I mean, you've done a lot of voiceover work. You did, the animated DC stuff. You've done video game characters. I'm fascinated by that type of acting. God of War 3, you did Mad Max.
I'm one of the stars of Fallout 76, the video game. I'm the overseer.
Wow.
That one
You
has
would make a
gone
great
on to,
overseer.
television series.
But I mean, I'm talking. Is it directed the way all voiceover stuff is? Or did you ever have to? Are you a character? Like, do they do the motion capture stuff with you for these games as well?
Some of them are motion capture. The God of War was just motion capture for my face. But Halo 4, we were in the full costume.
Oh.
And what's different about that, as opposed to animation, is in that case, you have to memorize everything because you're acting, and the costume is, they're using the cameras and the lights on the costume that they will draw the painting, the animation from.
Mm-hmm.
Something like Catwoman, where, an animated series, all of the actors came in together and sat down, and we just had a script with just the written words. We didn't have the storyboards. We had a director in the booth who had the storyboards, who would tell us, if you're jumping off the building, you've got to jump like much higher because the building's much higher. The other video games, you just have your lines on the screen and a director who is telling you, okay, you're talking to the player. You're telling the player to do this. Give me a little more anger because you're annoyed with the player or whatever. It's something like that. So they all have different approaches.
That seems like a grueling kind of acting.
It's fun. It's fun. You don't have to put on makeup. You don't have to put costume on. And it's really sort of fun. The one that was...
Go ahead.
And when you're talking about voice acting, the one that was the most unique for me, I just did it. It's a series that's on Hulu now. It's a Swedish series. I had to revoice the Swedish actress who was throughout the series.
Mm.
And
Wow.
the second day I showed up for work, the scene was this old, elderly Swedish actress who's speaking Swedish, is getting violently, sexually attacked. And I mean, she's taking part, she's enjoying it, but it was so unique because, the Swedish accent is much higher, or the Swedish dialect, they're even their sounds are up there, and I'm having to do all of these lovemaking scenes. It was unique. Wow. And match her lips as much as I could. So it's fun.
Yeah, I did a couple of those. That's hard work because you have to match the lip flap, and it doesn't matter what you do as long as you start and end at the exact right moment.
I've
done that before. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a talent, really, I think,
Well, we have a little game called IMDb Roulette. We're going to spin the wheel on your massive IMDb page.
Oh, don't overthink this. You can't lose on this. She has all the answers.
He has all the answers. I'm going to start with number 1, and I'm just going to say a credit, and then you can tell us if you remember who you played and what you remember about the experience on the set.
Okay.
So the first one, we like to start with your first credit. So we're going to go with The Great Houdinis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was my first television film with Paul Michael Glazier, and Sally Struthers, and the woman that played Ethel Mertz, Vivian Vance.
Wow.
And Paul Michael Glazier played Houdini, and I think Sally played his wife, and I played his mistress. And all I really can tell you about that is my agency called and said, they want you to do this role, and this is what they're offering, and this is blah, 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 blah. And I said, great, my first TV movie. Oh, I can tell you 2 stories about that.
Okay.
My agent called back a little while later and said, well, they want you to do a sort of a semi-nude shot for European release. And all I'm thinking about is, oh my gosh, I don't want them seeing my rear end or anything like that. We have to structure this so, nobody is on the set and blah, 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 blah. And we worked that all out, and I hung up, and my boyfriend said to me, you're going to show your body and you're not getting any more money? That was that. But was my first television film. I'd only done stage and tape. Maude was 4 cameras. And I never really watched movies. I didn't know anything about movie making. We finished The Master, which most of your audience will know. We finished the wide shot, and I headed to my dressing room to change clothes because I didn't know about coverage. I didn't know that they were going to come back and get the same scene just on my head or over the shoulder or anything like that. I was new to that medium.
You bring up a great point there. I mean, not so much back then when you're doing nude shots, but if say you have to do a sex scene now where they have intimacy coordinators and all that kind of stuff. Do you like the young ladies now negotiate for a higher thing if they're expected to do that, or is it just part of the part? Maybe I'm being naive about it.
I nobody's asking me anymore for it, so I really do. Although there was something that somebody just said. Well, anyway, I would assume that they do. I mean, I would assume there's all kinds of.
Yeah, I would think so.
And even when we did that, I remember saying, nobody on the set and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And so, yes, there must. And there are now, I know there are, it's a whole, maybe it's a union position of people who are there to.
Yes, the intimacy coordinators. That's a big deal now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And plus, films are a lot sexier now than they were in the
They
old
sure
days.
are. They
All
sure
right,
are.
let's talk about Back to School.
Oh, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. And again, it was just a straight offer. And I showed up on the set the first day, and there was this line of women outside Rodney's trailer. I said to the producer, what's going on? What's happening? And then he said, oh, they're all here to try and get a hug and a kiss from Rodney. He's, he's the sex symbol. He's the number one sex symbol.
Wow.
And he was a delight. You were
Vanessa in that. Explain your character in that movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. His soon to be divorced wife.
Oh.
All right. We're going to go to the Drew Carey Show.
Ah, yes. I played Oswald's mom.
Nice.
Which most people don't know. It was a recurring character. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I did 4 or 5 episodes. Did 1 episode with Richard Chamberlain. I remember that. Ooh. And all I can tell you is the first day of rehearsal for Drew Carey. Drew wasn't there, but the other 4 guys, I have never laughed so much in my life. Yeah. They were just hysterically funny. Off screen, I mean, away from the dialogue. Yeah. They just, one of them started a riff. He started doing all of the villains from all of the James Bond films. And
wow.
I was hysterical.
That's impressive. Yeah, he had a couple of the guys from Whose Line Is It Anyway
Brian.
on there.
Yes, yes. And Craig Ferguson, who went on at his own talk show. Craig was the one that was doing those. Oh my God, it was a fun set to be on, and talk about food.
Oh,
yeah. Drew
craft services, the best
craft
part of
services for Drew's show it went on for days.
All right, illegitimate daughter of Barbara Stanwyck was Suzanne Stanwyck on General Hospital.
That was my one foray into daytime television, General Hospital. It taught me that is not an art form that I enjoy doing quite as much. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. I mean, if you're a principal character, you got to memorize like 10 or 15 pages of dialogue a day. That would be awful.
Yes, although many of them don't bother.
Oh, wow.
So
do they have cue cards and teleprompters or anything for the main? No?
No,
wow.
no, not at all. I think what sort of threw me about that is they hired me. I was just going to do the show for a month, and I was supposed to be the mentor to one of the returning stars, a young woman. I'm doing charity work and I'm helping her, and I'm just this sort of nice person. And after a month, the producer came to me and said, well, we really want you to stay. We've got this whole other storyline. And I ended up turning out to be a kidnapper and a murderer and something else. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. How do I justify what I did in the first month with, and I mean, I was taking notes because it's going so fast. Wait a minute, but I did this in the first month, and then now you're going to have me do this and this. And
your job is just to stretch the plot out as long as you possibly can. So a day is a month.
And you don't, that too. Oh, yes, that too. And I didn't know going in what the arc of the character would be, I don't know if I would have taken it if I had, but it was interesting. I mean, the people who do it, my hat's off to them, because it's, as you say, it's by the seat of your pants.
And you know what? I got to tell you, some of the acting is very realistic and natural. You know what I mean? The close-ups, every muscle in your face. I mean, it really, those close-ups, like the reaction shots, they scrutinize you. And you know what? Some good acting shows up in that thing once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with Batman, because I know that you enjoyed playing Catwoman.
Batman came along. I got a call from my voiceover agent. In those days, we went into the voiceover agent's office. They had a recording booth in there. And they called and they said, we've got an audition for you to play Catwoman in an animated series about Batman. I'd never really seen it. I knew Eartha Kitt's voice I grew up listening to her singing Armenian and Turkish songs, but I didn't know anything about her. And I knew Lee Merriweather just from being in the business, I guess, lovely woman, but I'd never seen her performances or anything. I just went in, and it was probably a 30-second audition, maybe 6 or 8 lines that I read the way I thought Catwoman would read them. And about a month later, I got the call that they had hired me to play Catwoman.
Can you share how your Catwoman sounds?
Somebody asked me to do that the other day.
Sorry.
I never watched it until it was during the pandemic. I was in New Zealand doing Cowboy Bebop for Netflix, and I was in my bedroom of the hotel room that I had, and the TV was on in the living room. And all of a sudden I thought, that sounds like Batman. What is that? What have I got turned on? And I went in and I turned it on. And it was Batman, the animated series, and Catwoman was talking, and I thought, that's not me. That's not my voice. I had to pull up IMDb to see if that was the one that I had recorded. Oh. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what she sounded like.
All right, Fritzy, you got the last one.
All right, Carnivàle, you talked about this. I don't remember this series. It was on HBO, right? What was the
yes,
flavor of it?
It was HBO, and it is still, you can find it, and it's worth watching. But it was the precursor to so many things that followed, Lost, and so many. It was 2001, I believe, when we shot the pilot. Amy Madigan, Clancy Brown, Nick Stahl starred, Clea Duvall starred, myself, John Carroll Lynch. It was just an incredible cast. It took place in the 30s, in the Dust Bowl, and then in the Central Valley of California. Conflicting stories. And it was basically good versus evil. Metaphysically, it was a traveling carnival. I played a snake dancer. We come across a young boy who is burying his mother, and it comes to pass that he has the ability to heal people. and to bring them back from the dead. And it's been so long since we did it now. I think there is a preacher or, there's a minister. Someone they're trying to, we bring him into the carnival and take care of him. And it was an incredible cast, incredible words. I loved the whole metaphysical aspect of it. And I was 51 at the time, and I'm playing a snake dancer who has a relationship, a love affair with this young 26-year-old, and then who is bitten by one of her snakes and dies and and comes back to life, and then can see, I think she sees dead people. I can't remember. It's been so long. But it was an incredible role. It was just...
Well, you were 51 years old when you did that role, but very few people outside of show business understand that you are basically a medical miracle, because at 52, you had twins.
Yes.
Are you in textbooks or anything? That just sounds unbelievable. This is with your second husband, correct?
I was the only woman, on the maternity ward who was a member of ARP.
Yeah.
Which is actually a joke that a friend of mine
fantastic.
said to me. But in those days, it was sort of unique, but now it's not.
Are any of your children in the business, as they say?
Well, yes. My older son, Cody, John Carpenter's son, Cody Carpenter, is a brilliant composer and musician and scores films. And actually, he's scoring the film that I just finished last summer, which should be hitting this big screen in a couple of months. I'm very excited about it.
And what's it called?
He was hired totally separate from me, had nothing to do with me. He just has a video game that he just scored called Terrifier 3, I think, the arcade game, which is Terrifier movies. It's a whole raft of horror films. And so that's Cody. He's a brilliant musician and a linguist. He also works as he lives in Tokyo. He translates Japanese.
Oh, my goodness.
You have Japanese into English for various companies.
Wonderful.
My younger twin, William, is a music producer who was nominated for an Academy Award for his production of one of the songs in Elvis.
Oh,
wow.
2 years ago, maybe? And
The Baz Luhrmann movie?
Yes.
Holy
yes.
cow, that's impressive.
And
music has always been...
wait, we want to hear about...
I'm sorry. I just
Walker.
want... This is just an insert.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The music has always been, at the beginning of your career, was like the primary part of your ambition, wasn't it? Singing.
Well, I started out doing musical comedy. Yes. Yeah. I never really developed as a singer because I was doing musical comedy and I never found, the Linda Ronstadt or the my own, like Bette has her own persona as a singer.
Yep.
When I have sung, and I did release an album and I did some concert touring, but I just sort of chose songs that I liked, that I thought the audience would like, but I never wrote anything for myself or anything like that. So
Okay, Walker.
Walker is a fashion designer. He design and product and merchandise developer. And so he's not quite in the business, except that he designs merch for rock bands that are performing and selling their T-shirts at
wow, you did a great job with this group. Mom,
creative.
you really did. They will
That's-
keep you in a style to which you are accustomed when you decide to retire.
Well, tell us what we need to know. What's coming out? What should we be on the lookout for?
Next up is a film called Oddities, which I did with Lovey Simone, who is starring in a Netflix series, a YA series called Forever, I think. And Lilimar, who is she was a Nickelodeon star. She is a wonderful voiceover actress, has done a lot of movies that you would know. And I'm really excited about it. Xander Berkeley is also, Xander plays my husband. It's Thelma and Louise meets A Quiet Place. It is a thriller, maybe horror film. And it really felt good when we were doing it. And I just did some ADR on it, automatic dialogue replacement. And it looks fantastic. And we've already got people who want to buy it. And they're looking to premiere it at one of the festivals. And so I'm really excited about that. And then I just did another film for Chrissy Fox, who is she's an actress, again, primarily the horror genre, but she and her husband, Spider One, have produced 5 or 6 horror genre films. And we just shot that one right before Christmas. That's a hardcore horror film.
Okay.
And I've got a couple of animated cartoons, television cartoons, for 2 of the major streaming channels that I'm doing voices for, but can't talk about yet until they.
It's amazing
they premiere.
That you are really active at a time when, as you'll forgive me, ladies get older. It becomes harder and harder for women to get parts and stuff, and you're doing fantastic.
And the industry is sort of shrinking and.
It does become hard. I mean, the roles just aren't there. People they're not writing for women my age as much, but I've been very fortunate. I was really lucky. It's been 10 years now, but in 2016, I got to do the national tour of Pippin, and hanging upside down from the trapeze, 15 feet in the air with no net, singing the song at age 71 or 70, whatever I was. And, those kinds of roles don't come along too often, but.
Well, that's why you look like you're 40.
When I'm not filming, I do video captioning for the visually impaired.
Oh, good for you.
I so that if you're watching whatever your favorite movie is or your favorite TV show, and you put your TV on the SAP channel, you will hear my voice or someone's voice describing what's going on screen in between the dialogue.
Wonderful.
It's like narration.
Good for you.
Right.
He looks at her with a furrowed brow.
I love that. Well, it's just been a blast talking with you, and we're just really celebrating you. And if you haven't read Adrienne's book, it is called There Are Worse Things I Can Do. And it's just like sitting with your girlfriend and having a great chat. I love reading the book. So thank you for that.
A lot of fun, Adrienne. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. I really enjoyed it.
Great conversation.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Continued success.
Well, we have somewhat of a sad note to share with you. This is actually Fritz's last episode. He is graduating. Yeah. The band had a meeting that didn't include you. So, but Fritz is graduating, and you can tell us about some of your future adventures.
Well, this is very sad. I've had so much fun over this last 5 years. I've learned a lot. I only got into this because I just enjoy conversations with people that I don't know and talking about things I don't know anything about. It was just awesome. But I've reached a point in my life where I've taken on more responsibilities. I was just named vice chairperson of Children's Burn Foundation, which has a lot more public relations work involved with it. I'm on the board of the Salvation Army. My stand-up work is picking up, and I'm old. And so I'm just getting to the point where I have to parse out my time a little bit better. And I thought, we got some great traction with this show, and
5 years, I
you've
believe.
done an astonishing job with the editing, and Dina has done an amazing job with producing this show. It's like real show business here.
We have
And Raph
and Jordan
right?
and
I'll mention
Mason.
them. You don't have to mention them. I'll mention them.
Okay.
It'll prove that I've met them before.
And that you're young enough to remember names.
Yeah. And it's been nothing but an astonishing experience for me. I just feel like this is time. And I feel even better knowing this lovely lady who is going to sit in this chair for a while, Lisa, who is unbelievable.
A little bit. We're going to see if she is a good fit for us. I thought maybe, Fritz, that you could interview her, like about some of her qualifications, and maybe we can get some recommendations. But this is one of my best friends, Lisa Arch, who I've known as long as I've known you, Fritz.
Do you feel the same about her?
That I've known her that
no, that
long?
you're best friends.
Oh.
Was that an exaggeration?
She said one of her best friends.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
would qualify Louise as an incredibly
Let me
close
tell
friend
you,
and somebody
she
I
told
love
me
and
that
respect
she told
very
me you
much.
were going to sit in this chair the
Yeah.
other day, and it made me so happy because
That's
I'm a huge
nice.
fan. I think that you're a talented actor. You're an astonishing parent. You've given rise to this genius, this physical phenomenon that is your son,
Yes.
who used to be
Thank
here
you.
and take pictures. But I mean, you were on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Any actor that can hold their own on that show has my utmost respect. I bow in your direction.
Thank
But
you.
You're a talented person. Your whole family's talented. Your husband's a television director and producer. You'll be excellent at this, and it makes me very happy.
That is so kind.
So
Thank
let me
you.
welcome you.
Thank
You know there's
you.
no money involved in this. You won't get paid for any of this performance.
Oh, God. You know what? I just remembered I have a thing I have to get to every Tuesday around this time.
Wheezy
No, yes.
is Wheezy. Nobody does their homework more than Wheezy does for this show.
Now, there's people
Yeah.
that probably do more homework.
and edits the show.
I know.
And she does a lot of work, and you will benefit from all the hard work she does and that Dina does. in the
I
show,
hope
and
that they are
Ralph-
aware that I am planning on doing as little work as possible.
No, you'll be great. Just your addition to the staff will be great.
Thank you.
I welcome you.
Thank
So
you,
I just
Fred.
Please don't call me if there are any issues.
I won't.
I have some interview questions.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself, depending on the
Going to your son's
administration.
college graduation.
Yes, probably going to my son's.
I'll probably be at that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and then I would probably be moving back to the small home I had purchased in Amsterdam.
Oh, Amsterdam. Okay.
Yeah.
Along
You
the
lived
canal.
in Amsterdam?
No, this is in 5 years.
5 years.
So
By
I'm
then she
assuming.
will
Because my daughter lives in Amsterdam right now.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I will maybe be moving in with her.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I am so jealous.
I am jealous.
If people are looking at this screen right now and they're seeing your face and they feel like maybe they went to camp with you,
Yeah.
where actually do they know you from?
Camp.
Okay.
So, I spent a lot of, 20 years ago to about 15 or 13 years ago, I was on almost every Nickelodeon and Disney show. So they might know me from there. And then Curb Your Enthusiasm, I did 7 episodes of.
And you played?
I play Cassie, who is Cousin Andy's wife, and Cousin Andy is played by Richard Kind. So, and what else? And I hosted a bunch,
You
which is
hosted?
what qualifies me to sit near you.
Oh, yes.
You
also,
are so overqualified for this gig.
Mad TV,
Oh, yeah, Mad TV.
and I was probably your first employer because
You were, no, Pretzels and Cheese at Topanga Mall was my first employer.
Yeah, I didn't
But
work there.
you were certainly a very early adopter of employing Lisa Arch at Premier Radio Networks, and that's where we met. I was 19 years old.
yeah, you were 19 years old.
Oh, my God.
And so this is a very talented woman. She's creative. She's glorious. She has several TikTok channels. And your son has a TikTok channel that's
Yeah.
popped up in my feed, even though he's talking about like the best number of reps for building upper body.
Correct.
So I'm like,
Yes.
how does TikTok know that I know this boy? Because this is not one of my
Right. You're surprised the algorithm has sent you that. Yes, I understand.
It's a little scary.
But something you should know about me is my son is currently teaching me to do a pull-up.
Okay.
And he totally believes in me. And so I am now completely believing in myself.
Is
So it's
that
going to happen.
necessary, though, for a mom to do a pull-up?
Yes. I think it's totally necessary because I want to be like Adrienne Barbeau when I'm 80. I want to be strong and like I want to have good balance and I want to be ripped.
And if you're ever dangling,
Really fit, unless you could do at least one pull-up.
Is that true?
At least one pull-up.
Yeah, so I
because
wanna
if
be
you're
able to.
ever dangling from a cliff face, you are going to want to be able to save your own life.
100%. So that means I also
I'd like to learn. Do you do it like this or like
this way,
Okay.
face on, not backwards.
All right, we can put like one of those in the door
Yeah,
jam,
if you could
and then
put a
we
bar
can
in the door jam, I could always do what I'm up to right before or after a show.
Yeah, progress report.
Yeah, progress
Okay.
report.
Sure.
You'll be amazing.
Thank you, Fritz.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
welcome, Lisa. And next week, our guest is going to be Stan Zimmerman, who wrote for the Gilmore Girls and the Golden Girls. That's his specialty. And he has written a book called Girls, I think, Gilmore and Golden, or perhaps the other way around.
From Gilmore to Golden.
So you're already
I'm already
reading
working.
it. It's a great book. I'm reading Stan's book. You guys should read ahead and be prepared for Stan when he's here next week. So
Didn't he also write that song, Girls, Girls, Girls?
That's Motley Crue.
Motley
right.
Crue. Yeah, and he may have worked on Girls Gone Wild. We'll find out. So we want to thank our wonderful guest, Adrienne Barbeau. Our team includes producer Dina Friedman, John Maddox, Mason Brown, Raf Rusak, Jordan Reyes, Haley Freight, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am Louise Palenker here with Fritz Coleman, Lisa Arch, and Adrienne Barbeau. Be well and wise. Take good care of each other, and we will see you along the media path.